Morning, guys. Okay, so this is weird. This might be too weird, but I'm gonna do it anyways. um, so when all this began and I called a session or the Kickstarter event that brought me to awareness that I was indeed the mark or target of some type of bigger joke or mockery or prank, punked, we say today sometimes. I was called a laughing stock, and it didn't bother me so much because I don't mind people ridiculing me. We all take our jabs here from each other, and usually it's in good fun. But the laughing stock is a mark or a target of a joke that a group of individuals are in on, and that one person just isn't. That one person is the only one not in on the joke. My dad sometimes referred to that. I want to say it's a mulligan. I know it was an Irish term, but something like that. When you're the target, you're the lone mark, and everybody around you is in on the joke. Only it's not a joke, and it brings harm. I don't know if we're supposed to say this outright to people. I'm not sure how it works, but I've always been pretty honest, and I know that I alienated one group that I've belonged to my whole life. And I don't know everybody in this group, but it is worldwide, however big the world is. Disney told us it was a small world after all, and I'm on the fence about that. But I will say I know that pretty much everyone I've ever met has lied to me. And I know this one group I alienated a bit because I was raised a certain type of way, and I thought that my allegiance belonged to this person. So I alienated this entire group that I've always been a part of. I'm sorry for that. And I doubt very few people might even catch on to what group I'm talking about. But this group needs to wake up because we are being suppressed, oppressed. We are the marks or targets of their jokes. Let me ask you something. If there is a group, if there is a boys club, much like Freddie Flintstone and Barney Rubble with their lodge hats on. If there is a group like that, how do they get all this time to plot out taking over the world, or with all their psyops? Like how do they get all this time, right? Well, money's not real. Most people understand this. And I've taken economics. I went to financial courses in college. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying money only has a value because we give it value. We could just as easily trade shells or rocks, stones with each other, and it would be the same. If we gave those value, that would be our monetary system. So how does this group of good old boys, how do they pull this stuff off? Well, probably because they don't actually have to work, especially if they're all paying dues every month. That gives every boy a nice vacation, a nice cushion every year. He could go on vacation, he could learn a new language, plot out some psyops, monitor his household while he's not there, kind of be a cool little spy. Have another family, even if he wanted to. A younger family to replace the one who was getting a little too aware of what was going on around them. And I know this seems weird. What are you talking about? This is going nowhere. One thing, being a TI or coming to awareness and understanding that you're the lone person, the lone wolf, not let in on this mulligan. You are the mulligan. When you come to this awareness, you learn about gaslighting, and you learn that it's not so much what people say, it's how they say it that matters. People show you who they are, even if they lie every day with their mouths. Their actions, the symbols around them, show you who they are. And yes, that is spiritual. You can see symbols around a person that they don't intentionally put around themselves. But you can make those connections with your intuition. And every woman has woman's intuition. If you haven't seen Chaos Walking, you need to see it if you're a female. I strongly advise this because I think there's a lot of truth in that. They've divided us for a long time, and even the book tells us everything's a he. Well, I'll tell you now, life doesn't come into this place without a she. And please understand that the one group, and I'm not talking about the people who are there for love, I'm talking about the people who are there to deceive. There's a group of people, a subgroup, in a certain group that the only reason they dress like women is to mock us, ladies. It is not, it is not to express their inner selves. It is to mock us, the women in their lives, because they make jokes of us every day and lie to us every single day. Not every single man on the planet, but I'd be willing to bet most of them. That's why every woman that was a party to targeting me always gave me a reason, because I think they actually felt bad about what they were doing, but they didn't want their own lives to change. Frankly, mine can't get any worse as far as I'm concerned. And I don't mean I mean because I can't be as mobile as I want to be. I can't see the places that I want to see. And I can't speak freely. I can't come out and say certain things because they're too outlandish and out of people's framework for people to understand. But I've been paying attention to all the reincarnation talk, and they want your consent. They want to know that's something that you believe in, because the reset is not about the monetary system. It never has been. It's about resetting the mentality or the collective brain of society so that they can start over and do all this over again, because too many people are catching on. Charlie Sheen and Ed Gein. Do your research. I can only say so much because, again, this will be taken a certain type of way. And I know that. And it can be shocking if you've not paid attention to the rest of my videos. Charlie Sheen. Why was he canceled? Do you know? It was for one phrase. I figured this out the other day. Saw a clip of his in a montage video. And I said, you know what? That right there is why they canceled him, and for no other reason. Because I looked at his face and I heard his voice in my internal truth detector. That bell that rings on the inside, when it resonates, vibrates from the frequency of truth. When someone speaks truth, if you have worked on your discernment and if you have adapted it properly, and I've taught you how to do this, watch the news without sound, turn down a movie, just look at the symbols and see what's being done. Then listen to just the voice, just the audios of interviews. See if you can detect who is telling the truth and who is not. Charlie Sheen told us the truth and they canceled him for it. So I'm just going to show you a little thing here and mention a couple of little more things. And it's up to you to figure out, how this resonates or if it doesn't. So I didn't want to show the clips of the interview because I didn't want to get dinged or whatever. But I found 2 memes. So this is what he says. I was banging 7, and finishing them. That's how I roll. I have 1 speed, 1 gear, go. And he's telling the interviewer, I do this every night, blah, blah, blah. And she says, aren't you afraid? Aren't you afraid you're going to die? And he looks at her, and he just gave her this look, and he says, dying's for fools, man. Dying is for fools. If Christ took the curse for us, you know what the curse is, right? Most people don't, again, because this stuff isn't taught properly. Christ took the curse of death. That's what he took for us. So if you believe in Christ, why are people still dying? And why are so many people curious about animals? And you hear stories of alleged serial killers who start with little animals. Why do they do that? Well, you've heard of the Birds Aren't Real campaign, right? Look into that. See how you feel about it. I'm not saying it's true. I love birds. I love all animals. But there is wide-scale deception all around us. And people say, well, monitoring spirits, that they're doing it with black magic. Back in the day, that was what it was called. Today, we would call that technology. They do it with their little bugs and their little recorders that look like everything from light bulbs to household screws. Again, I showed you all this on my main channel. Go to Google Tech, you'll find all these things. This is how they always know what you're doing. Well, if they're sitting around watching this all the time, and they're planning on how to make the news and make these big jokes and how to funnel money and launder money, if all this stuff is going on, you don't really have time for, work, do you? If you're patting each other on the back all day talking about how you made a big joke of certain people, a certain specific group of people. Ed Gein started digging people up at one point, spending a lot of times in cemeteries. I go to a certain cemetery now, and I don't have any desire to dig anyone up. I don't know that I would ever do that. But I don't want buried, and I don't want burned. Why? Because in the book of Adam and Eve, every time that they laid down as dead, or dash themselves on the rock to kill themselves. God raised them back up. Christ rose again 3 days after he died. He was not buried. He was put in a tomb, and he was rubbed with certain essential oils. And then somebody waited for him that knew him and knew his name and called him by name as he rose again. That's why names are important. That's what he did with Lazarus. He said, Lazarus, get up and come to the light. Come to me. Many people rose when Christ rose. This isn't widely known. It's not talked about in the Bible, but if you dig and you do your research, you can find it in other texts. Everything, every bit of it is fabricated. Everything you see on the screen, people around you, why they seem like they're acting is because they are. Do your research. Because if Christ came and he rose again, and every time Adam and Eve died, they rose again because their Creator loves them, because God loves us. If we love our children so much that we would do anything for them, and we are wicked, and we have done wicked, how much more could our Creator love us? Most people don't understand, why would you bring things into this world just to have them die? As a woman, I know that that's not necessarily true. Things hibernate throughout the winter, but then they spring forth again at spring. There's a season for all things, and death is not a permanent state. Why do you think there's so many stories about the Walking Dead and cutting the heads off of things? And I think it was Osiris. Was it Osiris? That Isis had him dismembered, and they had his head separated from his body. Why is this? Why is it always with the head? Because I think dying is a whole lot harder than we've been led to believe. And again, I think there's truth in media, and I think that might be one of the only ways to ensure that people don't rise again. And it's not because we're vampires. What did Jesus say to us? Let the dead bury the dead. That's what he said. Let the ones who are sleeping, who are dead in spirit, let them keep burying their dead. You come with me and live. Think about it. Think about it, especially, ladies. What's going on in your household? Are you aware of what's going on in your household? I wasn't. But now my eyes are wide open. And I see, and it's changed me forever. And I don't know if I'll continue doing videos or not, because I'm not good at bouncing or skirting around the truth. And it's funny, when I spoke these things aloud this morning, the second after that I start getting bombarded with messages. Not from females, only from males. They fear us. They fear us because they know we bring life into this world. They know we have women's intuition. They know we are more connected to spirit than they are. And that is why they have oppressed and repressed us for who knows how long at this point, ladies. But I know that there are women involved who have lied to me as well. This is a gift. Rejoice. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. And there are certain things that if you do them properly with your body and with your mind, certain things that will give you longevity. It doesn't take technology, it doesn't take anything special other than your own will. I've talked about this at great length. I'm not a doctor, I'm not an MD, I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm saying what helped for me was prayer, fasting, and meditation. And really just being okay with the fact that, all right, I got to admit I was deceived. I have to admit I was a fool and I was a laughingstock. But no more, and you know why? Because I do not consent.